So let's start. The palette was set where you're calm. You're so calm you could almost feel your heart beating in your body. You're in wide angle vision. You're listening for the silences around you. The largest part of your antenna array, your skin and all of those nerves radiating outward are alive and receptive. You're having fun. Maybe you're just chilling, drinking some coffee, just ready to start your day. Or maybe it's the end of the day and you're watching the sunset. How far out are you really aware? Go through a sense inventory. Here's one of those things you can keep your logical mind occupied with. How far out can you hear in all directions? Where do you lose the shape and location of those silences? In the din or the hum of the earth moving through space, whatever. Where do your eyes stop in that panoramic view because of the brow or the cheekbone or just because your skull gets in the way? When you look through the forest and into, not just at, that wall of green, where do the shadows outnumber the places you can see? Now, this is interesting. This is where you start looking not at objects or listening not to noises, but you're flowing through the dead spaces. And there is a finite place you can go with those senses. And so we recruit some helpers. The small mammals and birds. Their baseline behaviors as ground dwellers are going to tell us a lot about what's going on outside of the limits of our physical perception. You think about red squirrels, gray squirrels, chipmunks, and all of the birds that spend a lot of the time lower on the ground, like the thrushes and the sparrows and your robin in your front yard is a master instructor of understanding bird language. And you don't have to try to figure out over 2,000 species of vocalizations. No. Every bird, every rodent, even us to a great extent, we have 5. We have everything's fine conversational tone. With the birds, it's singing to proclaim territory, attract a mate. We have companion calls. Hey, what's up? How you doing? Right? The birds do the same thing. These are baseline behaviors. Now, if the ground-dwelling animals, and you're allowed to see them because you're not throwing the alarm, thanks to being quiet and slow and receptive, if they're doing their thing, well, that's good for you. That means they don't perceive beyond you anything coming, and they will before you do. Don't be foolish and think you have some sensory superiority over birds. Their eyesight is many more times greater than ours. Their learning curve is that there's a sharp-shinned hawk in their neighborhood every day eating their peers, and they're well aware and have probably many close calls. So their awareness is on point. Now, suddenly, all of that behavior stops. Remember, last episode, the first thing during a threat is you freeze, receive information. Step 2, you stalk to a better hiding spot. We would call that nervous behavior. Now, with some birds, they have a crest and they'll flash it, right? Other birds, they'll hook to see what's going on, right? And then strike 3, you're out, is the alarm. Now, every bird has an alarm, and it's pretty distinguishable. With a duck, it's 3 quick quacks usually, or if it's a nervous, quack, 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 before you freak it out, quack, 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 right? With mourning doves, it's the right of their wing beats. So these are unmistakable alarms, and every species in the woods knows about them. It's the adolescents that are not really interested, but you don't see bear in the neighborhood because they're listening to these bird alarms. You don't see bobcat. They're also throwing these bird alarms, but they're subtle disturbances, right? And here's a rule for you to follow that's kind of fun if you play hide and seek games like Campfire Stalk or Capture the Enemy's Flag. The slower you move, now this is for a natural landscape, there's an opposite phenomenon in cities. The slower you move, the more that you see and the less you are seen. And so if you move with fluidity, and when the wind stops making the noises in the overhead canopy, you stop moving as well because you may be in an area of crunchy leaves. See, there's a difference between being completely silent, which is highly improbable, and not being heard. right? The effect is still the same. We'd rather not be heard, because being completely silent means what? Cessation of your heartbeat, your breathing, the swish of your clothing. You're going to make noise. But to have that noise blending into or be masked by the bass line is where you want to be with that. And listen to the masters, because they are well aware of bird language. So your disturbance bubble is being cast out there, as well as your awareness bubble. And I want to share with you why it's important to know the difference between the two and how to work with the two to increase your engagement in your landscape for safety and security. Episode 5. See you on the trail.